Hello and welcome to my podcast. I begin every podcast with a bowl so that we can connect, find our center, and receive the insight from the podcast. And so we begin. Hello and welcome to my next podcast. In this podcast, I will be chatting with Lisa Hills, a very dear friend of mine who is also one of my master students. And we have a bit of a history. Even though we didn't know each other then, we actually both lived in a little town called Murrumbateman, which is just outside of Canberra. And there's some synergies with our lives. And in this podcast, I wanted to ask Lisa some under the silence questions. And I wanted to capture Lisa in her raw essence and to really find out who she is under the silence.
How are you been challenged with boundaries this week?
Oh God, I'm looking at boundaries with every interaction that I have. It's so amazing. Like, it's just extraordinary how, as human beings, we have no concept of boundaries, really, even if we think we do. I just observe it, and it's just quite amazing. Yeah, I've been making lots of notes. I could actually write a whole book on boundaries, I realised. So I think I'm very excited.
Oh my God, I love it when you start, manifesting that. Yeah, and it's... because that's Saturday's topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in your field, because whenever you go boom, I feel like I'm like, fuck, like I've been challenged so bad.
But it's like...
and not going great at it either. So...
Do you know what's so crazy is that it's not just you. Like, this morning I turned on to Parangao medicine music and she pulled a tarot card and it was the card of boundaries. It was crazy. She's got live streaming all over the world. And then she showed this card and it showed this shape. I can't even remember how many edges it had on it. And it said boundaries is like going to the edge of something where it's the death of something, it's the end of something to allow new creation. And it's true.
Wow. Who is this woman? I wonder if I can watch a replay.
Maybe. I'll have to send it to you.
Okay.
Parangi, something. I don't know. Something. Yeah.
That's really interesting, explained like that. Like, wow.
Yeah, and then I was watching the God Show again because I got back from checking out a room to hire, and I felt like he gave me some herbal tea and I didn't feel really good. And so I thought, just go downstairs. And then I put the TV on, which I don't normally do because I like to be productive. And Tommy's been watching this God series, which is huge. And so I put an episode on. There's no one at home. And I just sat there. And I'm so glad I did, because he was talking about apocalypse and how humans are obsessed with the end of world or the end of time. And it actually related to boundaries so much, because it's like the universe is unknown. And it's like we need to feel that we have some kind of end of time or some kind of calendar that's going to end or some kind of apocalypse to give us the edge. And when we don't have an edge, it kind of makes us all, we don't know where we're going or what we're doing.
Yeah. Isn't that relevant right now? Because it's like everyone's waiting for the end, like just for everyone to go, it's done.
Yeah.
Because we've been put up these boundaries and everyone's waiting. It's like when I used to go to work, I just wanted to get home, but what do I want to get home for? Like what? It was like the end, because that signified the end.
Oh, so we can start something new, but it's weird.
It's not.
No.
There's not. But it's like flu season's here. Okay. Oh, and it gets to September and flu season's finished now, so everyone's all of a sudden better. No one's getting flu.
Yeah, it's really interesting what we digest and what we absorb and what we manifest, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of...
So now they're saying that, you know, once they stop calling it a pandemic, then there'll be another shift.
Yeah, exactly, and it'll be
forgotten
about.
Yeah, it's not a pandemic, I would not think anymore, because otherwise flu's a bigger pandemic, because it's actually probably killed more people in Australia.
Mm. See, we're the anomaly, really, in comparison to the rest of the world. And our points of view are very different because we haven't been impacted the way that other countries have.
Yes.
And really, what do we really know? We're only being drip fed by whatever is in our view of what we see and what we choose to see, really. And then it comes to boundaries again. No, I don't believe in that. No, and when something gets under your skin, you're like, oh, block. No, that person's...
that's not really happening.
That person's a nut up. No, that's not true. Blah, blah, blah. I know, but I really believe you, and I'm going to believe you.
And then it's a conspiracy.
Yeah. Because there's a conspiracy in everything that we don't understand, where there's grey area or we don't trust, really.
Yeah, who's not telling the truth? But what is the truth?
Exactly.
Isn't it? It's only perception.
It's true, I know. Oh, man.
Yeah. Here we go down the rabbit hole.
It's true. I know. So what I thought, I found our chat on whatever day it was, Saturday. It was intense, and I felt it was intense, and I felt that there was this real boundary because it was such a difficult emotion to break down. I felt like we both kind of were in our heads a little bit.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, I was totally. And by the way, she didn't have a screwdriver because she was trying to kill him. She had a screwdriver because she was undoing a desk.
What was she doing?
She went to pick up a desk, a school desk, and she was undoing the school desk on her all fours. She was found on all fours with the face down, with the heater tucked from behind. So that's why she had the screwdriver.
Far out. He must have been...
He's been known to take a lot of drugs and alcohol recently through his depression. Hence the reason she couldn't handle it anymore, because he was in and out of hospitals and stuff, and there's psych ward and stuff. And, yeah.
So you're getting more clarity on it?
I'm getting more clarity, and isn't it interesting? We say boundaries, but we say manipulation, and we say everything that the drip fed, everything that the media wants to. Oh, she was found with a screwdriver in her hand.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of the story?
Yeah, and it sends off this shockwave through people and creates a reaction, and then there's this whole swarm that starts to happen because it's not really real journalism. But how do the journals, how do they really know the truth? Like, you're getting inside information because you know people.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's really the point of it all, isn't it? You know, it's when... real people are faced with the situation and you talk to them. It's like, okay, well, that person's actually there and that's what they're going through and feeling right now. I want to do this with Lisa. And then someone else will drop in. And you'll be gone and it'll be done and we'll just have to talk about other things.
I was going to say, I'm never going to be gone, and you're kidding yourself. It's all that loitering around the base.
So, what I thought was, I want to know who you are.
So that just got up my nose.
Wow.
Yeah, because who am I?
Yeah.
It's like when I ask a question of what do you want? Everyone's good at saying what they don't want.
Yeah.
So I would probably say what I am not, but what am I? Who am I? I am.
Yeah. It's such an interesting question because as you and I both know, nose is personality, right?
Yeah.
And so down the bottom of my list, it's like, but who are you behind your personality?
Because we've got the persona that we project to everyone else, and our personality is who we think we are. But who are you really behind who I think I am because of my beliefs that have been instilled in me?
Yeah, like who is Lisa when she was a little girl? What did she do? Did she read books in her room? Did she play? Did she like quiet time? Did she want to play with others? What did she love to do?
So when I was a little girl, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother because they lived across the road. And then when we moved, I just used to spend most of my time there anyway, because we were so close. So what did I used to do? I used to sit, my memories, like as we're speaking, I used to sit in her bed and we would do puzzles. We would do find a word. And I just loved that. We would find a word. She had books and books and I would sit there with her finding words. And that's a really, most of my memories are from my grandmother's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we used to all congregate in that little, they had 7 kids and they'd all congregate in her kitchen, like all the family, like around this one table. So if you were there first, you got a chair. Didn't matter how old you were. If you were slimy enough to be a kid and get a chair, you got the chair. There was no. And we used to sit around and have sayos with tomato and red onion on them and cinnamon buns and cups of tea after cups of tea, and us kids would go outside and play. But then I used to sit there with my nan also, and with our cups of tea we'd get our butter, like butter our toast up heaps, cut it into soldiers and dip it in our cup of tea. And then all the oil from the butter would sit at the top of the cup of tea, and everyone else thought it was gross, but Nan and I just loved it.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
And she would cut up lettuce into slices and it'd just be in a tray. We would have lettuce sandwiches. We would put a lot of butter on the bread and eat lettuce sandwiches or beetroot sandwiches or, yeah, there are some things that when you said when I was a little kid, they're the memories that came back straight away.
Yeah.
But who was I? Did I play? I don't know.
How old were you then? What age were you then?
So then, that was from pretty much I lived with them when I was born, and Mum and Dad lived across from them when he got home from the army, and so I'm going to say maybe 5 or something. And I remember Mum and Dad must have had a fight or something, or I got in trouble, and I went over and I sat in the gutter in front of Nan's house, and this man got me and took me into my Nan's house and said, "Your little boy's sitting in the gutter, it's a bit dangerous," because I have really short hair. Yeah, so, I just spent most of my time with her. And then when I wasn't with her, I was with the other grandmother, and we used to bake pastry things from scratch and in her old oven, and And I remember being at her house, and she was amazing. She used to chop the chickens' heads off and gut them and skin them and do all that stuff and cook a chook straight from like beat a chook. Like, so I know, because she was brought up on the land, and she was the second eldest of 10 or something children, 10 or 11 children, and their mum died when the youngest was like 3, so she had to bring everyone up. So she had a very tough life, but with her it was baking and doing stuff like that, and I climbed a ladder in her backyard one time and had the Humpty Dumpty, and I fell off the top of the ladder and got concussion, and she had to take me to the hospital. And I don't know, I think I was a bit of a loner.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah. And then when I wasn't with them two, I was with my auntie. I don't think I spent a great deal of time with mum and dad.
Oh, wow.
My mum and my auntie, because dad was really quite sick and stressed and whatever a lot of the time, and I really think mum struggled with being a mother.
Yeah.
And she never really wanted me. Not that she didn't want me, but she didn't want me.
Yeah.
So the feedback from my auntie said that I was always very depressed.
Yeah.
So I feel like I was a little in people's faces or out of their faces. I was very polarised.
So if you feel into it now, what's coming up for you?
It's almost a solitude is the word that came into my head, but an emptiness. It was like I didn't know how to be happy, but I was happy.
Yeah.
Hollow.
Do you feel that now?
Yeah, I do feel that now. There's been a lot coming up, and it's a lot of self-worth, a lot of lack of, a lot of this is where I want, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, and then taking on other people's fear, which sends me back into a fear and a worthlessness.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got this, when you said that, it was like you felt like your body was rising out of itself. This is what I want. This is what I want to achieve. This is how I'm going to move forward. And then when you said, and others are just putting their beliefs onto me, and then your shoulders went down, and then I feel fear. But what I kind of felt was that it was already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely there. And when I start to rise, it's like, and then, you know, it's when James said about the whole, well, people don't want to pay for what you offer. It's like, oh, so I'll just get back in my box.
Yeah.
Because it's bringing that, that worthlessness, the lack of self-worth, why am I even bothering?
So how long do you think that tune's been played?
Oh, forever.
So
on and off. There's been, so straight away, I'm sure, and it goes back to, but as an adult, when I was selling women's clothing, I got really good at it, and I sold, and the target was, if you sell $10,000 worth of clothes in 1 month, you just were like killing it. and I got to that, and then my upliner shut me down. She, it was like I was threatening her. You know, it's that be better, this is what you can get to, this is what you can get to. But then all of a sudden I was there, and there's probably so many things, but was I worthy of being there? Because then someone was like, well, look, I don't even know the words that she spoke, but I do know the feeling I had, and it was a feeling of like, get back in your box.
So have the opinions of others always affected you?
Yes.
Okay. Can you remember a time when you were able to let them wash over you?
I know with the massaging, there was Cherie and I were massaging, and Susie asked Cherie to do her massages. We were at a fair, and we were doing the massages, and Susie said to Cherie, oh, can I get you to massage me every afternoon after, because it'll be a big day doing the readings and stuff. And she was so excited, but Susie was my client. And there was a moment I went, it doesn't matter, because I know I do what I do, and I know I do it great. And it doesn't matter that she's asked someone else. Like, this is not personal. This is not because she doesn't think I'm good. And that was probably really, really imprinted in my brain about, that's when I didn't have that feeling. Yeah. So yes, I have had moments of that.
Yeah, good.
Sorry.
No, it's really interesting. It's really interesting because it's good to be aware of that, I think, because there's got to be a turning point where you're like, you know what, my life's more important than yours. I think it's that harsh. It's like, thank you for your opinion, but I'm just going to listen to myself.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, it's destabilizing over and over again. One step forward, two steps back. What makes you tick?
So what makes me want to achieve? What makes me want to move forward?
Yeah, what makes your heart beat? What makes you tick?
Want to make a difference?
Yeah.
I want to say the old cliche, I want to be the best version of me I can be, and that's true, yet I know that I'm not, and I know that I never will be, because I like doing particular things that don't bring out the best of me. They're not the best for me.
That's a good one. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
I don't like getting into trouble, yet I do things wrong.
What do you do wrong? That's interesting, actually. I don't even need to know what you do wrong. But why do you think that you do them wrong? Oh, God. This goes back to...
The boundaries.
Yeah, but it also goes back to childhood. When did you get attention from your parents?
Of course. When I ran away one time. I got in trouble at a birthday party, and they were all looking for me all over town, ringing my friends, and I was hiding in the yard.
Yeah.
Because I didn't... Did I get attention then? Of course.
Yeah, so any attention is good attention, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I went back to that place that I've been a couple of times in the last week, last night. So dark.
Yeah. God. So I'm really starting to understand you a little bit. So what do you hide?
Who I really am.
Yes. Yeah, and who are you?
I'm everything and everyone. I just am. And that's why I'm charged when I get charged, or when I'm humble.
Yeah.
I'm just not one thing or one person, or I'm not good, but I'm not bad. And that's not trying to be cliche, that's just fucking it.
Yeah.
I'm everything from a cunt to a fucking angel.
Yeah. I love it. And your name happens to be Lisa.
Yeah, it just happens to be. It just happened.
Yeah, and this is not one of the questions, but what drives you?
Look at you. You're like, the heat went into your face. And
Yeah.
what drives me?
Yeah.
Who drives me? My charges drive me.
Yeah, so if you're not getting pricked or poked,
Yeah.
it's boring, right?
Yep.
So what do you defend?
The word that keeps coming to me is placement. My placement. What do I defend? I defend my placement. I don't even want to overthink that. What does that mean? My place in this place.
Oh, it's powerful, actually. Yeah, it's like you're entitled to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come for the ride or get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. And what do you love?
I love things that I'm scared of. I love touch. I love feeling. Yet there's the fear of being touched and feeling.
Wow, that's really interesting.
That's why I do what I do. So I love to touch, but it's on my terms.
Yeah. Because that's how you're able to stay in control.
Yeah, it's a dream of standing there naked with someone running their hands up and down me, and it's that feeling of intimacy. Yep, that's what I'm scared of.
What happens if you surrender to the intimacy of others? I'm just trying to create the right question, but what happens if what happens if people could receive you intimately, or you could be received intimately? Because it's like there's a wall, there's a boundary, right? You have a boundary going one way, very strong, which means that no one can get through that boundary. But which way is it going? Is it the boundary to stop people coming in?
Yeah. Because it goes back to the worth. I mean, whilst observing most people, you push away and cause drama, but really there's that all that you want, all that they want, all that I want is to be loved unconditionally. Yet again, that's what I believe most people crave, yet that's what we push away because of fear of being hurt, yet it's hurting yourself doing that.
Yeah, exactly. It's fear of receiving love, or fear of actually allowing the love into your heart, or always assuming that the people that come in are going to say bad things to you or do bad things to you, or they're criticising you, or there's judgment. So that's the mirror reflection.
Yes.
Rather than they're actually there to love you.
Yes. Yet we're hung up at the moment, and I do it too, is that you have to love yourself before anyone else can.
Which is, if you let go of that statement and that belief, that's not actually true. Because in all the times that I didn't love myself, I was loved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's not true. It's just something that we've swallowed, regurgitated.
Yeah.
And it's interesting talking to you, because it's like I want people to know the worst of me so that they can love me at my worst. And yet it takes a long time to show them the worst. But what is the worst really? Like, what is the worst? What is the worst? What's under there?
Hurt. But yeah, what is the worst? I always like to say, well, they've seen the worst first, and everything after this is better.
But what is the worst? They've seen the worst first. Yeah, that's an interesting saying too. Let that one go as well. They've seen the worst first. Unless you want them to see the worst first.
But it's only what you want to see. What is the worst? Like you said, it all goes back to perception. What's the worst for one person is not that bad for someone else. What is the worst?
Yeah, exactly. So then it comes back to, who are you? What are your qualities?
Everything in between, and the worst and the best.
Yeah, exactly. Because you said cunt and fucking angel. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, if that's who you are, who do you want to be when you grow up?
Harley fucking Quinn. It's just so dumb. It just came into my head. Because isn't she, you know, the badass that just goes, fuck you all. I'm digging my own groove.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. And don't, like, God, that's inspirational, isn't it?
It's like, yeah, I know. Because does she have any hang-ups? If you don't like it, fuck you.
Exactly.
There's no, you know, yeah, look, it's a fantasy, whatever, but it has so much truth into it, and because that's, I think, I don't care what story whoever tells whoever, we've all got it in us, and that's why I said from this to this, you know.
Yes.
From one extreme to the other and everything in between, because she's got hang-ups. I mean, it's a character, I get it, but she's got hang-ups because of the shit that happened in her past. But it's like, well, fuck you, you know? Don't fuck with me or I'll chop your head off. What, you know, extremes. And
But it's not a fantasy, it's real.
Yes, but we live the fantasy of that we have to be that good person, the positive, that's why the positive movement doesn't work, because you're out of balance.
Exactly.
You prance around skipping and singing, whatever. It's like bullshit.
So you want to be vanilla.
Harley fucking Quinn.
That's exactly right.
And wear the cute little shorts with my pink tats.
That's it. So it's actually the point where your identity and your personality becomes you and not separate from.
Yeah.
Because it's got no form of people pleasing in it whatsoever.
Yeah. I went into that story yesterday of like, and then I became the victim after the victim showed her head, and then I became the victim, and then I was resentful because I was bowing, and then my resentment came out, and then all the old stories of I'm not good enough, I don't do things good enough, and I'm never going to get it right, and so now I like to get specific. Tell me specifics so I can't fuck it up.
So what would it look like if that story was gone? The worst
Harley Quinn.
Do you know who she is? I'm going to have to Google a picture and put it on the front of the podcast. From Lisa to Harley Quinn.
She has a baseball bat. She's really naughty.
So what do you want to say?
I love being naughty.
Yeah.
And I'm not good, but I'm not naughty. But I was numbed for so long, and I was probably naughty. Yeah, you know what? Who do I want to be? What do I love? I loved when I'd had a few drinks and I got up on the tables and danced because no one is looking, and I don't care who is judging my dancing. The Banger Sisters, where she just gets stoned and she goes out and dances like no one's looking in the middle of the dance floor. That's what I yearn for. That feeling of I just don't care what they think. And there's parts of me at different moments that doesn't. Like, I will get dressed up and put heels on and go grocery shopping, and people look at me, but I feel like that's their envy because maybe they don't feel they're worth to put a beautiful pair of shoes on and get dressed up and do their hair and makeup just to do the groceries. So there's those parts of me that goes, this is what I want to do, and I'm actually going to own this. And I step into my feminine, and I'm soft, and I love that. So there are parts of me at different times that does own that and doesn't care, or sees the envy in someone else's eyes, or feels that energy and the judgment because they're not in that place in their life that they feel open enough to do that. Yet there's so many parts of my life that I'm still closed, that I still take stuff on that's not mine to take on, yet it is mine because there's a charge behind it.
So if you were to say something to all the people out there who resonate with you, what would you say at the end of this podcast?
Keep doing the work. Yeah, just keep doing the work, and until things wash over you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. See you soon.